Hi, I'm Grace Grogan. Paul Cannon and I live and travel throughout the United States and Canada full-time in a motorhome. We are both photographers and enjoy going on off-road trails looking for interesting photo opportunities. Today we are riding a combination of two trails from the FunTreks California Backroads trail book. We are starting out on the Canyon Sin Nombre Trail, which is an 11.5-mile trail. Then about 7 miles in, we will be turning onto the Mud Caves Trail, which is a loop of about 18 miles, before we rejoin Canyon Sin Nombre to exit. Both trails are located in the Anza-Borego Desert State Park near Octillo, California. Anza-Borego is the largest state park in California and accounts for 1/2 of the California state park system. Canyon Sin Nombre follows the historic Butterfield Stage Route through the Vallecito Wash. This is rated as an easy trail, but you do need a 4-wheel drive with skid plates for some areas. We noticed that the sand on the trail has a muddy look that holds its shape. Notice the ridges along the edge of the trail where water has flown. Canyon Sin Nombre means no-name canyon in Spanish. We will be driving on the Vallecito Wash. A wash is a floodplain or river area in the flat bottom of canyons and drainage areas that lack water at or near the surface most of the year and are subject to periodic flooding. In order for plants to survive the severe flooding conditions, but also be able to sustain life during the lengthy dry periods. We are now entering the canyon, which is made of sandstone and granite that has been intricately carved by nature, forming numerous slot canyon offshoots throughout the trail. The Vallecito Wash winds back and forth through the canyon, and you never know what is around the next curve. Notice where water has undercut the canyon walls created by water flowing in the riverbed and washing the sand away. There are also interesting formations and indentions in the wall that retain their shape and are repeated throughout the trail. Those formations retain their shape because damp sand sticks together when water forms little grain-to-grain bridges, and then surface tension acts like rubber bands between the grains, holding them together. Rainwater in other areas flows down the mountain and separates those grains, creating interesting forms. Look at the fractures and undercuts on the right. On the right is a stream terrace. Stream terraces are formed when flowing water along floodplains carved downward, leaving the remnants of the older floodplain along the edge of the riverbed. These are formed over hundreds of thousands of years and can be quite high, indicating that a large amount of water once flowed through what is now a predominantly dry wash. We think the colored arch shapes on the walls to the left may have been left by a blade of a road grader cutting through and opening up the trail. Bands of different kinds of rock are common. Reddish-brown and gray layers of metamorphic rock are shot through with thin bands of white igneous rock, also called granite rock, and are referred to as dikes. You can see the beginnings of a stream terrace on the right. Check out the formations on the mountain to our right. This is created by water flowing down the mountain and creating the ridges. The sandstone contains elements and fossils that are over 100 million years old from when the Colorado River flowed through this area. Notice the width of the wash in this area. There are more interesting cuts in the mountain on the left and ahead. The sandstone cliffs are interspersed with bands of igneous and metamorphic rocks. Depending on the lighting, you will either see bands of color or what sunlight washes into a beige palette. Check out the formation on the left with what looks like columns of sand that have been formed by water flowing over the sandstone. As the trail widens out into a broader area, the metamorphic and granite rock are replaced with soft sandstone and mudstone. The water has carved intricate patterns into the sand. Notice how the mountain ahead looks like it was folded into pleats. There is a long stream terrace on the left. Look at the canyon wall on the left. The indentions resemble a face. Notice on the right as we drive where stream terraces have started to form. This means the area we are on and to our left is the prominent flow area. Watch for another stream terrace on our left. Its height shows how heavy water once flowed in this area. This is where we leave Canyon Sin Nombre and move on to the Mud Caves Trail, which is a moderately rated trail with a high clearance recommended for about 3 miles of the trail where loose rock is mixed with sand. You can see Octillo growing on the sides of the trail. This plant is indigenous to the Sonoran Desert and is not a true cactus, but is one of the easiest plants to identify in the desert. It is actually a large shrub with long, cane-like, unbranched, spiny stems that grow from a short trunk. They have very small 2-inch leaves that grow along the stems when there is enough moisture. They are easy to spot, often waving in the wind as you drive the desert. As we enter the canyon, notice the large stream terrace on the left. The mud caves are located in the Arroyo Tapiado Canyon. Arroyo Tapiado is a Spanish word for walled wash, an appropriate term going through the canyon. There are at least 22 mud caves and 9 slot canyons that have been found. Some caves are as much as 1,000 feet long and 80 feet high. This is the most extensive mud cave system in the world, and not all caves have been mapped. There are numerous signs as you drive the trail warning about the danger of the mud caves, especially if it is raining, has recently rained, or if rain is expected, because the caves can easily collapse. Notice the white on the ground and near the bottom of the wall on the right. There was also a white streak of rock on one of the canyon walls that looked like a waterfall. We believe this to be white igneous rock, which is also called granite rock. A fellow off-roader came from the opposite direction. This is a very popular trail, and we will see others from time to time. The wet ground, complete with puddles, leads us to believe there was recent rain in the area. Notice the mesquite trees growing as we drive through the wash. The mesquite require very little water and is the most common small tree of the desert in the southwest. We noticed an interesting dead tree on the left, which had grown onto the side of the rock and its roots were exposed. Notice the areas with dark spots of sand on the right. Notice where there are undercuts on the right, plus a tall area that has been carved out by water. There is another stream terrace on the right. We pulled over to let faster travelers go by. Paul and I like to travel the trails at a slower pace, enjoying the scenery and taking photographs. Notice all the patterns on the canyon walls to the left. The trail narrowed considerably as we drove through the Arroyo Tapiado Canyon. Notice the patterns on the canyon walls and vehicle tracks on the upper edge of the side just before another undercut section on the right. The high canyon walls took us into deep shadows, then back into bright sunlight as we drove down the trail. all heard an oncoming vehicle and backed up to make room for it to pass. This canyon wall had fallen chunks of sand in a pile near it. When seeing things like this, you always wonder what caused it and how long ago it happened. A large chunk of sand appears to have fallen from above and smashed into the trail. The coming star break is the spot where we were disappointed to discover our camera had accidentally been turned off when Paul was shifting into four-wheel drive to go through a difficult area seen ahead. Not only did the camera not capture our turn around a narrow ledge with a muddy drop-off, but we did not discover the problem until we had been driving another 1.5 hours down the trail, and we had then exited into a wide open area. Here are a few shots taken during the time the video was off. We found these cute carved faces sitting on top of a large boulder in the center of the road begging to have their picture taken. When out on the trails, I like to have the opportunity to grab a snapshot of the Jeep in at least one of the spots. This swirl on the canyon wall is believed to be created by pressure as the mountain was formed. This unusual pattern on the sandstone wall was amazing. These formations were all created by flowing water cutting into the sand. Here is another pattern in the sandstone wall that captured our interest. The sandstone walls and rocks were interesting. At one of our photo stops, I pressed my hand into a nearby rock and was surprised that it compressed just slightly like hard-packed sand on a beach. We also noticed as we were driving that people had carved initials into some of the sandstone walls. You can see several of the tall, skinny octillo growing on the right and mesquite trees growing in the wash. Notice on the left how high there are undercuts in the sandstone, showing how high the water once flowed through this area compared to where we are driving now. There is a sign on the left. I'm not sure what this one says, but there were several throughout the area warning people not to go into the mud caves because they are considered dangerous. We passed about 3 groups of campers on our drive through the mud trails area. Most of them were up on higher ground where it is drier. The park ranger that just passed us had stopped to talk to us when he was driving in the opposite direction. He questioned whether we were the Jeep that had tipped over in the mud. That had occurred in the area where we had goofed up and accidentally turned off our video. We had not seen a Jeep in distress, so he continued on to check it out. After the ranger passed by on his return trip, we did see a white Jeep that passed us on the far left, and its entire passenger side was covered in mud. We speculated that it may have been the one that had earlier not made it safely around the tight ledge. There were more wet areas in the shadowed area near the canyon walls. We don't know if this is because it has recently rained or if it is due to the height of the wall blocking the area from the sun for such extended periods of time that they are unable to dry out. There were areas of the trail that would become narrow and then later widen out again. There were many people parked along the trail who were hiking back into the mud caves. The caves are formed by erosion from heavy rainfall. Some cave openings look like cracks in the rocks and are not always easy to find. Dark holes or cracks in the side of the mud walls may be entrances to caves. Others are found walking into the slot canyons off the main wash through the canyon. We did not hike into the mud caves and continued down the trail. So many vehicles drive the trail at fast speed. We wonder how much of the beautiful rock formations along the canyon walls they see in their hurry to complete the trail at a fast pace. Moving away from the canyon, we are driving in a wide wash with mountains in the distance. Flowering plants in desert areas never cease to amaze. After the old red Jeep pickup passes, we will be turning right to get back onto the Canyon Sin Nombre Trail and continue to the exit area. We hope you enjoyed the scenic ride through Canyon Sin Nombre and the Mud Caves Trail through the Arroyo Tapiado Canyon. Many thanks to the FunTreks off-road books that guide us on our trail adventures. A big thank you from Paul and I for watching. We hope you enjoyed the ride. Please visit our YouTube channel, Rolling Through North America, Travel With Us. Give us a big thumbs up below, leave us your comments, check back often, and please subscribe.